My brother said his Christmas presents were trash he didn't want, so my parents sold them in front of him and made him cry. Then, as a cherry on top, told him he was getting sent away to a teen correctional facility. He did not take it well. My brother was 6 years old when he first tried to bite a chunk out of Dad's wrists, all because Dad said no to the candy bar he wanted. This wasn't his first meltdown either. He was diagnosed with conduct disorder at 4 years old, so for his entire childhood, my parents always gave him whatever he wanted, just so he wouldn't be violent. They let him pick every single family meal, movie night, and vacation spot. Everything was exactly his way. It was strange watching my parents be scared of a 9-year-old boy, but that's how we lived for years. Then they decided to finally stand up to him when he was 13. My brother said he had to have a $1,200 gaming computer, not because he liked video games, but because his friend got one. My mom explained they couldn't afford it, so he took her grandmother's quilt and ripped it apart with his bare hands. My mom was crushed, but instead of giving in, she stayed strong. That's when my brother changed his plan. He looked my dad straight in the face and said if they didn't buy him what he wanted, he'd tell his teacher they hit him. My parents went white. The next 7 months were hell. My parents tried to keep him happy without giving in all the time. They'd buy him some stuff, but not everything. Of course, it wasn't enough for him. He finally made good on his threat when our parents took us camping at a not-alike campground than the one he wanted. I remember coming home 3 weeks later to find a social worker in our kitchen, taking pictures of our medicine cabinet and first aid kit. My brother sat on the sofa with fake bruises drawn on his arms, while the worker asked questions. The case lasted 3 weeks. The worker found costly gaming gear in my brother's room, and saw how he kept changing his story about when he said he was hurt. The case was closed with a note that said his story kept changing, but the damage was already done. This all built up to my birthday morning this past year. I had asked my parents for new headphones since mine were broken and barely worked. My brother told our parents to blow his mind and nothing else, and so they did. When my birthday morning came, I opened a pair of Beats headphones plus a few small things like candy and a wallet, but then it was my brother's turn. He got a designer watch, Nike shoes, the gaming chair he'd been talking about for months, and even a fancy drawing tablet. Yet each time he opened something, he'd snort and throw it aside like it was junk. After all the gifts were opened, he didn't even say thanks. He just went to his room and came back 30 minutes later with his phone calculator open. He'd looked up every single price and added them up. Then he looked up my headphones price. His total was $90 less than mine. He stood there screaming about how this was proof he was the forgotten kid in this family, and I was the favorite child who always gets everything. He had the guts to go into the dining room while Dad was making birthday breakfast. He tried to grab the credit card out of Dad's wallet to buy $90 worth of stuff online to make it even. My parents, who by this point were fully done with him, told him no. Dad told my brother he wasn't getting any money and there would be trouble if he tried. Well, my brother's face went bright red. He yelled that his presents were mainly garbage that he didn't want anyway. Before anyone could stop him, he grabbed my new headphones off the kitchen counter and smashed them against the floor like a hammer. Pieces flew everywhere. The room went quiet. My mom stood up not fast. She's a small woman and a former police officer who never loses her cool. When she shouted his name, I swear the windows rattled. It was the first time I ever saw him scared of getting in trouble. He ran to his room and locked the door. I picked up the pieces of my headphones, almost crying, while my parents began talking quietly in the dining room. About an hour later, they came out with serious looks on their faces. They went to where my brother's presents were still scattered on the kitchen floor and started picking them up. I asked them what they were doing, and they said what they should have done years ago. Before I even knew what was happening, they were posting all of the items on Craigslist. Within 4 hours, everything was sold. The watch went right away. Someone drove 2 hours for the shoes. They'd made back every dollar plus some extra. My brother was still in his room, so they called him out. He came out holding a baseball bat, which my mom made him drop by grabbing his wrists and taking it. This happened in the hallway, meaning he was already mad. And that's when he walked into the kitchen. He saw that his presents were gone, and there was a pile of cash on the counter. But there was also one more thing. A website on the laptop screen. Wilderness Program for Troubled Teens. What the hell is Shut Up and Listen? Mom cut him off. This is where you'll be going for the next 4 months starting next week. My brother's face went gray, and this pile of cash on the counter is to replace the headphones you broke. Now